Episode 81, Mailbag episode. You submitted questions and we answered them. You're listening to the Bucko Banter podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plates, and in case after case, run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Adam, welcome back to episode 81. We are in our second episode of 2025. It's I feel a big year coming for us. Not a lot to talk about though.
Not a lot. And our first episode of 2025 was maybe the most depressing episode we've ever had in Bucko Banter history. Good sad, response. Man. It was a very sad exercise. Yeah. I think you got the short end of the stick when it came to drafting.
Timeout. First of all, whoever didn't get Paul Skeens got the short end of the stick. Yeah. But one of the first comments, and we had to repost because we had a couple spelling errors. No big deal. Come on, we're not perfect. Happens. No one is. Someone commented like Scott by a mile. I'm like, no, not at all. Adam by a mile.
Yeah, it was. If you got the first pick, you won. That's how low this roster is right now. We have no depth to put two competitive teams together, let alone one. The exercise should have been, let's put it one team together, right? Just one team that can compete. And we tried two. It was risky. It didn't work very well.
No, it didn't. And it just furthered the idea of how sad this offseason has been and how sad the state of the organization is right now. But don't want to be too negative today. Come on. We got Fan Fest coming up, or Pirates Fest, whatever you want to call it. We've got spring training. We booked our spring training trips
today.
We're officially going to Bradenton again for the second year in a row. We'll be there March 13th through the 16th. So if you're going to be there, let us know. We'd love to get you a mini mic, meet you, whatever. We had fun last year in Bradenton, and looking forward to it again. We're going to have even more fun this year because we got a fun content house brewing.
We got a crew.
Crew.
Not just two scared young lads going down to Florida.
We were
brutal. It was brutal. Let's just call it as it is. But we got a Sax coming with us.
Yep.
We got our friend Debo coming with us to help out. And we got a house. And we're close to the ballpark. We're going to be at Pirate City. We're going to have mini mics. We're going to have giveaways and much, much more. So like Scott said, if you see us down there, don't be shy. Say hi. And hopefully we will have many gifts, baseballs, whatever it may be to give away, and enjoy some meaningless baseball. Really. Absolutely. I mean, for us at least, like for the guys in the field competing, I say meaningless. Let me just back up real quick because it's not meaningless. People are competing for starting positions. But when you look at this roster and the prospects that they have, there's really not going to be many surprises when it comes to opening day. There could be a Bubba Chandler possibly breaking camp like Jared Jones did, but that was like the biggest shock we've had coming out of spring training in quite some time, right? So meaningless in the sense that they haven't really done anything to mix it up lately, to throw some competition at the current 40-man as it stands right now. Which brings us to some rumors. But before that, Scott, let's see what's going on around the league, which hasn't been much. It's been slow.
Yeah, I'm just going to run through a few big signings here. We had the Red Sox signing Walker Buehler to a 1-year deal. I think the Mets brought back Sean Manaea on a 3-year deal. That seemed inevitable. Gleyber Torres went to Detroit on a 1-year deal. The Rangers signed Jock Peterson. I kind of quietly like what the Rangers have done this offseason. The Diamondbacks signed Corbin Burns. We talked about that a little bit last episode, just, given the similar revenues that Arizona and Pittsburgh brought in last year, and they signed a guy to a 6-year, $210 million deal. Seems like a big deal. And the Dodgers signed outfielder Teoscar Hernandez. They brought him back. Last two signings, we got old Chuck going to Baltimore on a 1-year. I think it was $15 million. He'll give them innings next year. They desperately need someone in their rotation to give them innings, which is why I thought, that Pirates would be a good trade candidate for them. But here we are. And then lastly, the Dodgers signed KBO star second baseman Hye-Seong Kim. He might be their starting second baseman this year. So what does that mean for Gavin Lux? What does that mean for some other guys on their roster? I feel like the Dodgers don't have enough roster spots for all the guys they've signed, but they're the Dodgers. So
doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get who they want, and that's just kind of been the story of baseball for the past couple of years. But that leaves us talking about the Pirates. What does this all mean in the grand scheme of things going into spring training of this year? You mentioned Gavin Lux, not really. I mean, we could see it happening, but not really a fit as it lies because he doesn't really shortstop. They have a second baseman in Nick Gonzalez. Do you really value Gavin Lux over Nicky G or who they have there now? Can he play right field? It doesn't really address an issue as it stands. But the rumor that's been going around is that the Pirates have shown increased interest in Alex Verdugo. I hate this. I'll come out and just say, I know you don't like it. I don't like it. This could very well be something where the Pirates do like an Aroldis Chapman type contract that I'm going to lose my mind over, where they're going to say, oh, quote unquote, we've had our eyes on Verdugo for a long time. We value what he brings. Some of that bullshit that they're going to throw at you and say, we could plug him in left field and it gives us more flexibility with Reynolds, or it just addresses a corner outfield spot.
Is he that much better than Reynolds in left field? Like, I understand Reynolds was one of the worst left fielders in baseball last year, but like defensively, like Alex Verdugo is not a plus, right?
Alex Verdugo had a 3-run value.
Okay.
Not terrible. The year before he had 0, and the year before that, -5.
Yeah. Maybe the Yankees positioned him better last year. I don't know.
Right. Well, we've talked about it on this podcast in left field. His outs above average last year in left field for New York was 1. Okay. He didn't do anything special out there.
Much bigger left field in Pittsburgh.
Much bigger left field in Pittsburgh. We've mentioned it time and time again about Verdugo being positioned well and benefiting from Yankee Stadium and what they have there. He's got a good arm. He's got bad, like he's not fast. He's not fast at all. So I don't think that's a solution. And if you're talking about like an upgrade for a bat, you're bringing in a guy that went from a 733 OPS in 22 to a 745 OPS in 23, and then to a significant drop off in 24 with a 647 OPS. 647. He hit 13 home runs last year in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, as a lefty.
Yankee Stadium. It's funny because my girlfriend's family, diehard Yankees fans, and we're talking about free agency, who they're going to bring in, and I'm kind of gauging how they feel about Alex Verdugo. And her brother goes to me, yeah, like he hit like 20, 30 bombs last year, so he can't be that bad. And I'm like, that seems a bit high, right? If we're talking Alex Verdugo, because if he hit 20, 30 bombs, we're talking like Tyler O'Neill power. He would have been gone in free agency already. 13 home runs as a lefty at the short porch in Yankee Stadium. Not good, man. Not good at all. He stole 2 bases, so it doesn't add any value right there. Average 233, on base percentage 291, slugging 356. This is not an upgrade.
I would just stick with Jack Sawinski at that point.
You might as well. I mean,
because Jack will hit you probably more than 13 home runs eventually, but like they provide the same. I think Verdugo is a better player, but like by how much? Because every time I've watched Verdugo, whether it was with Boston or New York, he seems so streaky. Like I think he started off last year, if I remember correctly, like pretty hot and like one of the more consistent bats in the Yankees lineup, and then it just tailed off quickly. Like it's streaky.
It's very streaky, and it's going to be a deal where they bring him in on a 1-year contract, and it's not going to be $3.5 million. I'm telling you that right now.
Like 10 to 12, probably.
Yeah, it's going to be like 10 to 12, and they're going to try and shove this down your throat and say this is like an upgrade and that they're going for it and that they made a big free agent signing. This is not the signing that they need to make. There is a lot of other options out there via trade that you can use your assets for to actually improve this team. And if you're going to follow the Pirate way, get years of control because you don't want Verdugo for multiple years. I hate it. I don't like it. I think maybe it's just being floated out there because he's one of the few names in free agency that has some type of pedigree when it comes to playing Major League Baseball. And he's 28 years old. So maybe that has some attractiveness to it to some people. They recognize the name Alex Verdugo. He's played for big teams in the Red Sox and the Yankees. He hasn't always been the best fit. I don't like to speak on guys' character that much, but just from reports, it hasn't been the best fit in some clubhouses. So I think it's just it's not a good decision to make. And if it's a decision that you're going to make just based on like, hey, we're under pressure, we need to bring in a corner outfielder, it's the wrong one.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, man. And I don't think, and I've said it before, I don't think the answer is in free agency. I really don't. I think if you're going to add to the corner outfield in a substantial way, even a slightly substantial way, I think it's going to have to come via trade. Like Verdugo is probably the highest profile name out there, youngest. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know you got like a Jason Hayward and a Grichuk and like guys like that, but in terms of age and fitting in this timeline and guys that might have more to give, he might be the top dog left, but still doesn't like tickle my fancy, if you will. So I would go elsewhere.
I would very much like for your fancy to be tickled.
I would too. It's been a effing while that it's been tickled in Pittsburgh, but it is what it is, man.
It's been rough. I don't know what's going to happen in these next couple of weeks that are going to be significant for this team. Outside of a shock, outside of the magic number of 3 years, $39 million that they gave to Liriano back in 2013?
14. Yeah, 13,
14. Yeah. So it's brutal. It's tough, man. I think last week when we did the 40-man draft, it was fun. It was a good exercise, but it was an eye-opening one. And it's something that we already knew, but just to kind of like walk through those names as it exists right now and then say like, oh, not only did we pretty much exhaust our options from the 40-man minus Henry Davis, minus Jack Sawinski, there really wasn't many options for us to go after in AAA. There wasn't many options for us to go after in AA. And the list goes on. There's not going to be guys that are top prospects that are going to be ready for years, right? Yeah. So it sucks. It's not fun. I'm not having a good time. But what can we do, man? We just got to kind of sit here and wait around.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do. It seems like it's getting there to the point where we're almost at the finish line because catchers and pitchers report in a little bit over a month, probably around Valentine's Day. I think it's February 10th to be exact. I could have sworn Noah said that date for some reason. But regardless, like there are signings that happen through spring training. We saw Michael. We were there in Florida when Michael A. Taylor was signed. We did a emergency live from Yankee Stadium or Steinbrenner Field, whatever you want to call it. There's a couple months left, but like it feels like the meat of the moves have been made, and that's the scary part. So
it's scary that last offseason was better than this offseason.
Way better. Oh, I mean, well, let me just modify that real quick. Not way better, but we had way more major league signings or additions at this point.
Which was Marco Gonzalez, Martin Perez, Rowdy Tellez.
And not great, not perfect, but like still serviceable major league guys that are still in the, well, Rowdy's not, but you know, I'm sure Marco will sign somewhere and Martin's with the Padres. So
let's get into the mailbag.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We had some good questions, some fun questions this week. As we mentioned, not much is going on, so we'll get fun with it, some comedic relief, but a really good one from our friend Bobby Castine.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
Ooh, this
Shout
is
out Bobby. He wanted to predict the 2025 spring breakout predictions, and we were there last year. We will be there this year. So great question, Bobby. I looked at the roster spots that they gave for 2024, and I tried to align that with the spots they will allow in 2025. Now, I will say I don't know how accurate my 2024 list was because a lot switched like right before the game. Right, like Solometo got taken out, and a
Christian
handful of
Curtis came in.
others. Right, and the wheel kept turning in terms of who they threw in there at the last minute. Here's what I got. I'll kick us off here, Scotty.
Mhm.
Starting at catcher, I think it's going to be Omar Alfonso.
So I had to.
And my backups are Axiel Plaz and Abraham Gutierrez. That's no different than 2024. I think those are your big three when it comes to catching. Infielders. Starting at first base is tough for me. I really don't know, outside of Tony Blanco, who you're going to have start at first base that you would consider like a breakout guy. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to say Jack Brannigan gets time at first base.
I have another idea, but go ahead.
I'll go Brannigan first, Termar second, Johnny Severino at short, and then at third base, I will go maybe Kervin Pichardo. They slot him in there somewhere. It's very dicey when it comes to the infielders. Altogether, I have Termar Johnson, Mitch Jebb, Johnny Severino, who I really like going into this year, Kiner Delgado, Yordani De Los Santos, who's been a big prospect for the Pirates, Jack Brannigan, Tony Blanco, Sung-Shae Sheng will get another outing in the breakout game, and then Kervin Pichardo.
Okay. I like that.
Outfielders, starting Sammy Siani, Esmerlin Valdez, and Estuar Suero.
Okay.
I think Braylon Bishop will be a name to look after. And I think Will Taylor, who they drafted this year out of Clemson, will be a name to look after.
Sure.
That they throw onto the roster. But as Merlin Valdez, I think, had a decent year last year. Obviously, Sammy Siani had a decent year, kind of a breakout guy from the 2020 draft. Was it 2020 or 2019 that he was drafted?
19, I think.
19, and then he didn't benefit from everything getting shut down. And then Braylon Bishop was a high school guy who has a ton of potential. Right.
We're not decommitted, but we took him away from his commitment.
Right. So. And then pitchers, man. This was tough. There's a lot to go after. I think Bubba Chandler obviously is one of the repeat guys. Thomas Harrington will be on this roster. Anthony Solometo, who was taken off because of the flu last year, will get a shot here. And then some new ones. Christian Curtis, I have making the roster. He was thrown on because Solometo got taken off. I think he's done enough. He had a good year in Bradenton. He had a decent AFL. He's got good stuff. Newcomers, was Braxton Ashcraft on that roster?
Yeah, I think he was.
I think he might have been, but I have Braxton Ashcraft, and then I have Carlson Reed, who had an outstanding year in low A, and then he got promoted to high A. Hunter Barco is going to be on this roster. Xander Meath, I think, will make an appearance here, and then Dominic Parachi.
Yep.
Got to show some more lefty love because we only got Hunter Barco and Solometo here. I think Parachi did enough to kind of maybe get some recognition, but there are some other names I could have thrown in here, but I think those are the 9 that I'm looking forward to in 2025.
Yeah, I think majority of our roster is the same, but I'm just going to run through quickly what I have written down here. Great question by Bobby, by the way, but I have at catcher Omar Alfonso, Axiel Plaz. I think those guys are probably shoo-ins again. I went a different route for first base. I went as Merlin Valdez to play first base. He's played a little bit of first base, and I think that's probably where he slots long term. And he's a guy that I know is getting a lot of hype after his year in Bradenton. And I have Tony Blanco as the backup, but also like the DH. And then I'm going to go second base, Tamar Johnson. Shortstop, Johnny Severino, I think is going to be a big name this year in the prospect circles. Third base, I have Jack Brannigan. So I moved him to third base. And I think he played third base in last year's breakout game.
He did.
Other infielders I wrote down: Sung Chae Chang, Kaner Delgado, Yordani De Los Santos. But I also I'm infatuated with Eddie Reinders. He's a third baseman / shortstop. I don't know if they'll showcase any of these high school guys that were just drafted, but he should be on that list if they do. In the outfield, my starting outfield would be Connor Griffin, Mitch Jebb, and Lonnie White Jr. It would be a very athletic outfield. And other names to think about are Will Taylor, Estuar Suaro, Braylon Brzobin. He was big in the DSL last year. And some other names. I think you said Sammy Ciani. I could see that happening. And some other names. Pitchers, pretty uniform there. I like Bubba Chandler, Thomas Harrington, Hunter Barco, Solomado. I wrote down Derek Diamond, Dominic Parachi, Christian Curtis, Carlson Reed, Urkelani, maybe. I think Xander Meath is actually going to be a guy that's going to be highly anticipated for this breakout game. Matt Ager, who was just drafted out of UC Santa Barbara. Maybe Levi Sterling, if they give the high school guys a shot. And then relievers, I wrote down Brandon Bidwa, who was in the AFL this year, and David Matoma. So
Matoma, I do like that. Good list. Matoma is one that was on the roster last year. I think he didn't play though.
He didn't. No,
he didn't play, but I'd like to see him get some time. Awesome story. Connor Griffin, I left high school guys off of this because I just didn't know the feel for throwing them in there because most of them did not get any time at the professional level last year. Obviously, I would love to see Connor Griffin get some
I think it'd be a good experience for them. Like, it's one game, get maybe 2 at bats. I'd love to see Levi Sterling come out and throw an inning, but they have a lot of arms where I feel like Connor Griffin's probably more likely than a Levi Sterling.
Now you mentioned Connor Griffin in the outfield, which might confuse some people because he was drafted as a shortstop and there's been the prospect of him playing outfield. You think that's what they're going with, or you just think that's how he gets into this game?
I mean, I could see him getting into the game as a shortstop. I just think, like, I feel like his body, and I haven't seen him live or anything like that, but he seems to be putting on some weight and maximizing his the projection that he has left physically. I think he probably ends up in the outfield. But again, I haven't seen him move at shortstop, so I don't know. But I thought the main call on him from most scouts was that he's probably an outfielder. I could be wrong there.
Yeah, it was a lot of praise when it came to outfield. It was can play shortstop, could be a Gold Glove outfielder. So it's like, why don't we just
put him in the outfield?
Put him in the outfield. He does project there. It's 6'4", 215. He might weigh more now, based on
not many shortstops that big, man.
Not
saying it can't happen. Yeah,
already had one of them, and you know where that went right now. Good question, Bobby. I can't wait to get to the breakout game against the Phillies this year. Going to be a ton of fun. What is the next question that we have here, Scott?
I think it was from a friend of mine, actually, from home. Matt Nystrom said, "What is your favorite seat at PNC Park?" I will quickly
take it.
Quickly go ahead and just say, I think it's not a seat, but I think the outfield is always fun for us. Just what we do when we're at like 60 plus games a year. We love being in the outfield. It's a fun time, and it gets really exciting out there. But I will say it's really hard, and maybe this is really obvious, to be sitting in like section 116 or 117 behind home and having that view of the city. I think watching baseball and having that view of the city is unmatched. So I'm interested to hear what you say, unless you have the same answer.
Yeah. We never really have a seat, right? Can you find us at the Miller Lite Bar, or can you find us just going back from left field to Miller Lite Bar back and forth? We rarely ever go around home plate. We rarely ever sit in a seat for an extended period of time for these games, which is fine. I love that area. It's a unique experience. That would be my go-to, standing room only, just because of the flexibility that it gives us and just for our lifestyle. If I'm going best seat in the park, I would agree it's probably behind home plate, anywhere from row 1 up until like
Even up to the top of that,
the top.
116,
Yeah.
117, even the 316, 317. Like, I feel like that's a cop out saying like behind home, because obviously like everyone wants to sit behind home, but like the view at PNC Park is what makes it so romantic. You know what I mean? Like having the ability to watch a baseball game with the bridge behind center field and the skyline right there. It's just it's breathtaking.
I'm not going to make this mistake again next year. Anytime I have family come into town or I want to impress somebody by going to PNC Park, I always say I need to get something along the third baseline. That way they can see,
Sure.
see everything like that. However, in the months of June through September,
Get beat on by that sun,
you just get brutalized by the sun, dude. It is 100% of the time, every time.
I don't know how Queen
destroyed.
Banshee does it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, shout out her, because the sun just goes right down on you. And that entire, like from, I'm trying to think of what section that is. It's like 124 over.
Probably about that, yeah.
If you do not have the proper protection sitting in those seats in the heat of summer, you will be ruined. It is brutal. I've had times where I've gone with Claire's family and we bought like 6 seats in a row and we ended up just sitting in the concourse for the whole game, because you're trying to shield yourself from just being absolutely destroyed. So pro tip for anybody that hasn't been to PNC Park, or if you have and you're looking for a new experience, if it's a night game, beautiful. Sit over there, enjoy the city. If you're going for a day game in the summer, if it's going to be very hot out, you will get sunburnt. You need protection over there. It's bad. But
for sure.
Outside of that, man, club seats are always incredible. If you want to splurge, I think behind home plate and on that side of the field as well. But yeah, man, behind home plate's got to be it. I think that was at 117.
116, 117, 118.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like those sections right above the Lexus Club or whatever it's called now. So yeah.
Yeah, good question, but we really don't have a seat. We use the ballpark pass, greatest invention of all time. Let's go to our next question by a friend of the show, Noah Hiles. What is the best food at PNC Park soaking wet? So the question is, give us a food review, but that food has to be soaking wet, just absolutely drenched in water, just downright wet.
Something we might have to do, Adam.
Might have to experiment with this as potential content moving forward. Scott, do you have a food at PNC Park that you would like to eat soaking wet? I
think honestly, a permane sandwich with that thick bread, just having it soaking wet and just taking a big bite out of a cup of coal and cheese. Oh man, I think
so. Picture this: we're not talking us being like, the sandwich itself has to be soaking wet.
Yeah, it has to be
dripping wet, like torrential downpour, bad rain. Everybody's in the concourse except for us. It's just Scott, a capicola, and just rain. Lots of rain, and you're chowing down on that sandwich. You think the water combination along with the Italian bread and the capicola and cheese makes for a good match?
Absolutely. And if you guys want us to, we'll do this during the season. Like we'll review it. We'll give you our thoughts. I actually might do it anyway, even if you guys don't want us to. But I think it will be very good. Chef's kiss.
That's a good one. I think that was going to be my go-to, which means we have to do it.
Yeah.
What about some Manny's barbecue? Some pierogies? Don't give me that look. You just ate a whole Primanti sandwich in the rain. You're gonna criticize me?
Yeah. Go ahead. You loaded mac and cheese?
Well, no. So
okay.
I want the loaded pierogi. So it's like 20 pierogies, and then they are covered in pulled pork, and then they have crispy onions on them. And I just feel like the pierogies will just be nice and slippery, nice and just like they'll just be sliding around, and then the pork, it's already moist, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be way more moist.
It's gonna be moist. So it's not like the structure is not going to be ruined, right?
Okay.
It's just gonna be soaking wet. It's
Yeah.
gonna be like a bowl of soup pierogies, but with like floating pulled pork around. The crunchy onions don't stand a chance. Those are going to melt right in.
Are you gonna lose
Which
flavor though?
I think the flavor will then become like the broth, because if we're talking soup, we're getting a bowl. It's pierogies, pulled pork, crispy onions, and then lots of rain. So much rain. So then you mix that up, and then the flavor that you're losing from the pulled pork and the crispy onions, they get integrated into
The
rainwater. And then you almost have to eat it with a spoon at this point. So you with the spoon, like matzo ball soup, you put the spoon in there.
About that.
Right. Listen, you're talking to a pro here. You put the spoon in there, you get yourself a good pierogi, and then just like in matzo ball soup, how you'd have maybe like some carrots or celery. Instead, it's pulled pork, and that's it. But
I don't think you'd find pork in matzo ball soup.
Probably not. Probably not. That'd be a little sacrilegious. But
It's so insane.
It's a bizarre exercise that I cannot wait to try, because now I'm craving soup.
Okay.
And maybe some pierogies. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go pierogies with the pulled pork. It can't just be regular pierogies, because then it's just like they already had the casing on. Like rainwater with pierogies doesn't do much for you because it already has a casing. So the integrity of the pierogi is still intact.
Mm-hmm.
But everything added together, then you have yourself like an entirely different meal.
Interesting. Okay, you really thought this out. Have you been to Brothmonger by chance?
I have not. I've heard great things. In Bloomfield?
Yeah, Bloomfield, exactly. So this is a free ad, Brothmonger, just so you know. We might be able to pitch this idea to them if this is like a I don't know, a worthwhile soup.
Okay.
Park soup. I think this is
soup?
something. Yeah, pierogi soup with pulled pork, with matzo balls. Whew.
Oh, now you're adding matzo balls. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm all the way in. But like, have you ate there? No free ads,
but they're so good. The beef chili, and I
okay.
think they had like a lemon orzo something soup. I don't know, but it's really good.
Okay. This was terrible. This was all around.
What did you expect? Thank you, Noah. Thank you for the wonderful question that warranted bad responses.
Great. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's move on to the next one.
Let's do it.
I'm deciding between the two others that we picked here. Let's go with a more serious one.
Okay.
From our friend and listener to the show, Adam Debo. What players should the Pirates have traded away? So this is like, what player in the past couple of years have the Pirates missed the train on that they should have gotten rid of? Scott, I'll let you take the reins on this.
I've got both hands up because I have one answer and one answer only. It's David Bednar. Okay. And I know people are going to hate that response and hate that answer, but it's true. The problem with the Pirates is that they haven't maximized on the assets that they own, the very limited assets that they own. When you're in a rebuild process, you need to maximize those assets. Is David Bednar going to be a part of the next playoff team in Pittsburgh? Probably not. But also closers, like we've seen it with Majinski, Kyle Nicholas, Dennis Santana, even, who was claimed off waivers. Relievers are, I don't want to say easy to come by, but like easier than acquiring a Paul Skeens. Like a closer, there's many guys that you could theoretically develop into a closer. I don't want to say many, but you guys get my point. You can't just develop a Paul Skeens.
I 100% agree, man.
I think they missed the ball. And I'm gonna carefully say this, so don't take this the wrong way. Felipe Vasquez too. And I know there were other things that happened, you know, and I don't condone that. I'm not a supporter of Felipe Vasquez. They had opportunities, and let's put the other stuff, the off the field stuff aside for a second. Before all that stuff came out, they had opportunities to trade Felipe Vasquez, and they didn't. And so anti what he did. Okay, that's what
cannot stress enough how anti.
More anti. Yeah, Felipe Vasquez, and any one of you listening to this episode, you look at me. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm pointing at you. I'm more anti Felipe Vasquez than you, but they missed the boat. My point is, they missed the boat on flipping assets for more future assets, and that's been a common theme with this front office, with this organization. And I get the allure of having a hometown kid as your closer, having him come out to renegade. It's awesome. It's so cool. He's pictures of him holding icy light in the clubhouse. Like, he's a Pittsburgh guy. But I think they really missed the boat on trading him, and I think they're going to regret it.
I agree, man. The return that you can get for a premier closer and what Bednar was doing in 2022, 2023, when he had a career high 39 saves and he was an all-star both years, the return that you could have received from a team making a push or a potential World Series team could have been borderline franchise changing when it comes to the return that you could have received. Yeah, the prospects that the Pirates value so much. I think it hurts that they didn't already pay David Bednar. And a couple of that along with him being the Pittsburgh guy. I get it. It's fun. We love it. But you cannot hold that too close to the heart when it comes to improving a team. Yeah, they missed the boat on it. I think they missed the boat on pretending that they were going for it last year and not trading Aroldis Chapman. Look what the Royals did, man. They brought in Cole Reagans for Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah.
Aroldis Chapman was having a good year. You could have gotten a great return for him as well. Point being, relievers are
expendable.
They are, you could find them. You can develop them. You can get guys off of waivers that can end up being incredible for years.
David Bednar was a 35th round pick or something like that. Right. Like, come on, guys. Like, you can develop a closer.
Well, especially nowadays, guys throw hard. If you're not throwing 96 plus, it's uncommon.
Is Mark Melancon the last like mid to low 90s closer we'll see in our lifetime?
Most likely, because you're not getting guys that are going to be crafty. You're going to get guys that are going to throw 102 miles per hour, and then they're going to have like a nasty slider or a cutter to go along with it. Those days are over, and a lot of guys can throw hard now. So as long as you can harness some type of talent and direct it in the right way, i.e. Kyle Nicholas type guy with nasty stuff that's going to be a reliever for the rest of his career. There's plenty of guys like that out there. You missed your opportunity on that. David Bednar, I think Aroldis Chapman, you fooled yourself into thinking you were going for it with BDLC and IKF, and then therefore you held on to a Chapman when you either knew or you should have known that wasn't going to get the job done. So moral of the story, don't hold on to closers.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not in it, right? If the Pirates were at the top of the Central at that time and they were winning the division, I get it. I get holding on to those guys, but the way things were trending, it just didn't work out that way.
Also, not just holding on to closers, but also being a small market team. And I'm going to use Washington as an example because Washington's not necessarily a small market. They've given up big contracts and whatnot, but they had a Juan Soto who was a generational player, and they basically rebuilt their team in one trade, sending him to the Padres. Seriously, they got James Wood, James Wood, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore. Like, these are core pieces to their new team. This is the type of trades that you need to make when you're not the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox or whoever spends big. You can't hold on to guys and let them walk in free agency, especially guys that are valuable and are assets. If you're not competing for a World Series, You absolutely need to churn through these guys. And the Rays do a really good job of that. The Guardians, I think, do a really good job of it. I think Milwaukee does a really good job of it. Milwaukee got Joey Ortiz, DL Hall, and I think someone else for Corbin Burns. And Joey Ortiz is going to be the starting shortstop next year. Like, these are the type of moves that you need to make as a small market team. And they just haven't done that. They haven't flipped their assets, and they haven't, continued the cycle with what they have. So let's move on to the next question, Adam. What do you say?
Jim Rosati.
Yeah, Jimothy
asked us, do you think any of the Pirates players gave any of their teammates a Christmas gift? If so, who? And what was the gift?
Interesting.
You got any ideas here?
I feel like Paul Skeens and Jared Jones definitely gifted each other something, maybe like fishing gear or something like that. Because I know Jared Jones is a big fisherman and they are best friends. And I don't know. I feel like Jack Sawinski probably gave out like Bibles to a couple teammates that
needed it.
Maybe G1 Bay. But other than that, man, it's tough. I don't know. What are your ideas? I'm curious.
I got creative with it. I put in a generator to make a Secret Santa. So I didn't go through. I did the whole 40-man. I did the entire 40-man roster. I only took half of it. I did say generally Skeens probably sent out a Christmas card because Livy made him do it. And it's like a picture of him, Livy, and the dog sitting next to a Christmas tree. Yep. So here's what the generator said. Andrew McCutcheon got Joey Bart for Secret Santa. He tried to get him a gift, but he doesn't know where Joey Bart lives. He also doesn't have his phone number. Key Brian Hayes got Tristan Gray and just decided I'm not going to participate. Jared Triolo got Brian Reynolds and he got him a big belt buckle that says Country Boy. O'Neal Cruz.
I could think of other things it would say, but I'm not going to say.
O'Neal Cruz got Spencer Horwitz and then subsequently asked to be traded. And then in turn, Spencer Horwitz got Dari Moretta and got him a $20 bill. I had Jack Sawinski get G1 Bay, and he gave him the blood of Christ.
On the same track?
Yeah. So we were in the same ballpark there. And then, that's where I cut it off because I didn't want to do this anymore.
Who did Emmanuel Valdez get? No, I'm kidding. I don't care, actually.
I just can't. I can't do it. I really
actually
can't.
Don't care, so don't tell me.
Then I have some other funny options that I'm just not going to say.
It's probably best that you don't.
I can't do it. I don't want to. I'm not going down that road. They are funny. Trust me. They are good.
We'll talk about them after the recording. So
maybe we'll do a Patreon and release them there I don't know. Scott, this was fun. 43 minutes of bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. This was fun. We're going to hopefully have something more to talk about, Wednesday or the middle of the week. We got FanFest coming up. We've got some other things coming up, maybe some interviews. We'll see. Stay tuned. Hopefully we have some, roster additions to talk about at some point.
If you're going to FanFest, let us know.
Yeah.
We have some content planned for that. If you have questions that you want us to ask on the mini mics, let us know and maybe you'll hop on there or we'll ask your questions to Pirates Fest. It should be a great time. I've mentioned this before. I'll say it again. I am bringing $200 to Pirates Fest. $200 that I am going to donate to Pirates charity. It'll be a Bucko Banter write-off. And in return, I will get 4 random Pirates jerseys.
Love that.
And 2 of them will probably be Curtis Parch.
Kevin Kramer.
I'll probably get another Kevin Kramer jersey. And then maybe the 4th one is something decent.
Heath Hembree.
Yeah. It won't be good. But I cannot wait to put that on film. Or on camera, film. What is this, 1920? I'm going crazy here. The Pirates are making me. Maybe I'll get a bat
Telegraph.
Too. Yeah. we'll send a carrier pigeon to this thing.
There
I
we
don't
go.
know. We're going to be there. There's 2 days of Pirates Fest. It's going to be a great time. Let's not let the offseason spoil something that can be so fun for so many. And remember, there's going to be families, there's going to be kids enjoying it, there's games. It's just something this is a good thing, right, Scott? Like this
Absolutely.
is not something that we need to make we don't need it to be theatrical. We don't need it to be a scene of any sort. This just needs to be a good time getting ready for Pirate season that we cannot wait for. And I know we're pumped about it. And this week we will have a big announcement. We've teased it the last couple of episodes, but very soon there will be a partnership coming along.
Man.
Very, very exciting. If you haven't already, go to buckobanter.com, get your merch. I'm rocking a little hat here, new hat. It's like a little surfer hat. It's got some cool material to it. Very comfortable. Got my new champion crew neck in. Scott's got a new hoodie right there in the OG script. Go get some shirts, whatever you need. You can find it at buckobanter.com. Go follow us on all socials. If you have anything that you want answered on the podcast, shoot us an email at buckobanter@gmail.com or just comment on one of our posts. And if you haven't already, download the episode. If you're listening, leave a 5-star review, tell a friend. And if you're watching us, thank you. I know it's not easy to look at our faces for 45 minutes, but you just did it. You made it. Congratulations. Go treat yourself. And while you're treating yourself, subscribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, comment, like, and share. We cannot thank you enough for listening and supporting. And until next time, raise it.
Raise it.